thing. Shaking her head, as if the abrupt motion could dislodge her doubts, she inhaled a deep breath, released it. "I'm doing this," she said to the mountains. To no one. "I'm really doing this." Was she reminding herself, or questioning her sanity? Yeah, she had no clue. But with her apartment lease canceled, all her belongings either packed away in storage or piled inside this vehicle, with her ties cut, she had no choice but to go forward. Literally and figuratively. She closed her eyes and tipped her head back. Up here, the air didn't contain the mugginess of the South. Though she'd lived almost a decade in Charlotte, North Carolina, she'd never quite become accustomed to the humidity that clung to her skin like a layer of clothing. Here, though, summer had truly arrived. A high 70s temperature with a fresh breeze that brushed over her skin like a loving caress. The southern Berkshires in mid-June were simply breathtaking. As much as she resented the place where she'd grown up, she couldn't deny the beauty of it. Centuries-old trees seemed to preen with their vividly green, lush leaves. Wide fields rolled into hills that were only eclipsed by the majesty of mountains and endless blue sky. As a child, she'd stared up at those great sentinels, imagined they'd been stacked there by lightning bolt-wielding gods and fierce titans. And as a teen, she'd studied them, dreaming about what lay on the other side. They'd been her friends, her guardians, and they'd been the only thing she'd waved goodbye to as she'd left Rose Bend 8 years ago. But now she was back. Tears stung her eyes, and Sydney blinked against them. Stupid hormones. She'd never been much of a crier. She'd learned at an early age that tears solved nothing. But since she'd been pregnant, they popped up like stray hairs on a chin. Family, acceptance, a sense of belonging. Those had never been hers to have in her hometown. Hell, there was a very good chance they still might not be hers now. But for her baby, it could be different. The burdens of Sydney's childhood didn't have to be her child's. She wouldn't let it be. But she wasn't in the habit of fooling herself. While she hoped, prayed, for a nurturing haven for her child, and truly believed she would find it here, she also wanted that for herself, for Sydney, that girl, Collins. On that latter point, she knew better. Nothing changed in Rose Bend, not the houses, not the townspeople, not the opinions, not the hearts. That's why she stood on this hill behind St. John's Catholic Church, the oldest church in Rose Bend, instead of driving to her parents' home. It was an ancient institution. Carlin was buried at the newer cemetery, on the other side of town. Undoubtedly, Sydney's parents still visited her older sister's resting place, while Sydney hadn't been there since they lowered Carlin into the ground. 18 years. What kind of sister did it make her that she hadn't visited Carlin in almost 2 decades? A shitty one. The answer popped into her mind, clear and adamant. And curiously, the voice sounded very similar to her mother's. She huffed out a rough, jagged laugh. That criticism and more awaited her once she arrived at her parents' house. Focus on the bigger picture. You're here to raise your child in a warmer and safer environment, to give your baby a place where she's not a passing strange face, but a part of a loving family and community. True and true. While Sydney and her parents had a strained relationship that might be impossible to heal after years of too cold politeness and stinging disapproval, she believed, had to believe, that they would accept their grandchild. Love their grandchild. But now that the idea was cold reality and no longer theory, well, she would be a liar if she claimed her stomach wasn't bolting for her throat. And the feeling had absolutely nothing to do with morning sickness. Oh God, she'd made a mistake. What the hell had she been thinking returning here? She should leave right now. It wasn't too late. Stop it, damn it, she hissed at herself. Get a hold of yourself and woman the fuck up.